Welcome. This is the Enlightenment Show, and I'm your host, Laurie Schoenfeld. This is where Chicken Soup for the Soul meets the artist way with Nancy Drew. Our guest today is Karen E. Hoover, author of The Amethyst Eye, Book 4 in the Wolfchild Saga Series. We're going to be chatting with her today all about her new release and a treasure she's found not expecting to find. Welcome, Karen.
Hello. Thank you. Oh, it's a good morning. Yes.
So excited to have you joining. You are the last show of the season on 2020.
Yay.
Hey. What is something that is magical in your life right now?
Oh my goodness, magical. Probably the most magical thing in my life is my grandson right now. He is 3 and just brings me so much joy and happiness. I just, being a mom was awesome, but holy cow, being a grandma takes it to a whole nother level. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're the third person that has just recently talked about the magic of being a grandma.
Aw, it is magical. It is an amazing, amazing experience. So came on a lot sooner than I had expected it to, but I wouldn't change it for the world. So.
3 is a fun age too.
Mm-hmm. Really is. He's just starting to talk and really, really talk, not just babble and mumble. So it's been really fun to have him come in and be able to say, "Hi, Gammy," So, yeah.
Can you share with our listeners and viewers what the Amethyst Eye is all about?
Absolutely. Well, as you said, it's the 4th book in the Wolfchild Saga. And the series follows 3 different characters. We've got Ember, who is the first white mage to be born in 3,000 years. And the white mages are the ones who are healing the world. And so they've just been able to do patchwork on this world that's falling apart until now. The second one is Kayla, who is the holder of the blue keystone. So basically the keystones come in different colors and they root that color of magic to the world. So she plays the Sapphire Flute, which is a keystone. And then Satan, who is the bad guy, we think. She starts out the bad guy and she has her own process, of growth as she's going. So you don't really know where she's going to end up. So this is starting farther on in their journey. The things are really starting to fall apart and there's earthquakes and crazy stuff. And Ember is trying to learn how to use her magic since there haven't been any white magi around for so long. There's nobody around to teach her. It's a different kind of magic. And she's just having to intuitively find her way through it. So that's been really fun. We've got some little love side stories and, healing of relationships. And it's just a really fun series. I really enjoy it. So
I love your magic systems and the world that you create within your books, but I also really love your diverse characters and the strengths that you bring into those characters. Can you share a little bit about what you love with Ember and Kayla specifically?
What I love. Ember she's strong-willed, but timid in some ways at the same time. She's not sure of herself in some ways, and especially with her magic, but she knows where she stands and what she wants out of life. And I've always admired that about her, that she was not afraid to, stand up to her mother and say, hey, this is something I need to do. And, I was meant to do this, and to go on the journey that would lead her to being able to do the magic. So, and with Kayla, she is also very strong-willed. She is half Yvonne and half human. So she has some of the Yvonne traits that embarrass her a little bit. And she, in the beginning, she was always trying to hide her ears and but at the same time was willing to do everything she could, even using subtle magic to influence people in accepting her family that had been, ousted for a while. So, and I love her growth where she hardly even seems to notice later on when she's, whether her ears are showing or not, she just, after a while, it doesn't matter. There's bigger things in the world to deal with. And, and she has a big heart, and I love that about her. So
we have a comment coming in for you,
wonderful.
Karen. Hi, Deirdre. I hope I said that right. Deirdre says, fangirl scream. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Thank you for joining us.
Yay.
If I said your name wrong, please let me know so I can re-say that correctly. But we enjoy having you here. Thank you.
Gosh, I'm flattered.
She says, I love you.
I love you too, Deirdre. Oh, she's one of my favorite people. I just love her. So
I love Karen with Ember. The whole theme of, she's a mage, the first, and she doesn't have someone to really, reach out to say, hey, how can I do this? And that really pushes her into learning how to listen to her intuition.
Right.
Why was that such an important message for you to share within her character?
I think that's something that I've had to learn to accept within myself, is that being intuitive is a gift, and even more than a gift, it's every bit as, what's the word? It's a tool, just like people use their brains, as a tool to accomplish things. And they're both valid, that's the word I was looking for. It's just as valid as any other thing. And, for me, I was just reading a book. Oh my goodness, I can't even remember who it was. But she said that there are people who are intuitive writers, that they try to fit their story to the boxes that are there in methods like Save the Cat or the 7-point story structure, all of those kinds of things. And when they try to force their story into it, it blocks them and they can't write. That they tend to intuitively create the story with all of the beats and the points that are supposed to be there. And that rather than feeling like the 3-act structure was created, that maybe it was discovered. Maybe it's something that's been there for a really long time, because there were people that wrote 3-act plays before Aristotle came and wrote the Poetics. So, I think it's something that's been there from the very beginning. And I feel like that's the kind of writer that I am. Like, that totally validated me reading that, because I try to write books and stick them into, so that I've got the high point here and, adding in, I can't even remember all of this stuff, but it doesn't work for me. And that's frustrating. And I thought, well, there must be something wrong that I can't do this. So learning a lesson from Ember just even recently, that the intuitive is every bit as valid a tool as anything else. So
I love that so much, Karen, as that's speaking so much to me and parts of my creative journey as well. For the first little while on my journey, trying so hard to implement what other people had said was the way to be successful as a writer. And I wanted that so much. I was like, well, that must be the only way. And recognizing, like, actually, with my intuitiveness and my ADHD, there are very specific things for me that either fill my well creatively or completely deplete it, that are going to be different than everyone else's creative process and journey.
Absolutely. I deal with that too. I've got the ADHD thing going on as well. So I totally get that. What outlining and stuff I do tend to do is very visual. I collect pictures of my characters before I even write them. Allie Cross once called me a headhunter because I collect heads. I thought that was quite funny. So I collect pictures of places that inspire me, and just things like that. And I'll just put like a picture book together of things that inspires me more than putting things into a beat.
Mm-hmm.
So, not that there's anything wrong with that. Like I said,
Right.
that's just as
Mm-hmm.
valid as what I do, but it has to be more visual for me.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think it's a fun part of the journey of not only being in your own creative process, but hearing how other people do it, because it's valid for every person and different for specific personalities and time frames. And there's so many layers there.
yeah, absolutely.
Hi,
Absolutely.
Julia. Julia's given us a heart. Julia, so glad to have you here with us today.
Hi, Julia.
The Amethyst Eye is book 4 in your series. How is writing that one different from writing your other 3?
Well, the biggest difference I think has been that I took a very long absence, or a hiatus, whatever you want to call it. Life got really, really hard for about 5 years, and I stopped writing entirely. And so this was my comeback story, and it's just been such a joy to come back to it and to rediscover these characters. And I don't know, yeah, so that's been the biggest thing with that. And then with the series itself, the first 3 books came pretty quick and pretty easily, and then this. But I had originally, sorry, I'm kind of rambling here, but I had originally intended the book to be 7 books, and then I got a little overwhelmed by the number and pared it down to 5 books that I was going to write. So originally, the Amethyst Eye was part of the Ruby Heart, which is the next book in the series, and I had finished that book entirely and was starting in on what was supposed to be the last book. And I got 80,000 words in and realized I was only halfway through the book. And so I had to split it. And if I split that one, I had to split book 4. So the Amethyst Eye is a newcomer to the series, which has been really fun as well. It's kind of a nice little surprise book that got popped in there. So
I love how you mentioned, Karen, a comeback, and that you can come back at any point in your life.
You can.
High five. What do you love about wolves?
Oh my goodness, they inspire me. They always have. Well, I've always been a dog person since I was really little. I've always loved dogs, and that just kind of transitioned to including wolves as I got older. Probably when I was about 22, I would say. I remember thinking, so many of my friends have things that they love, their little totem animals, owls or cats or, whatever. And I was like, what, if I could pick anything, what would be my totem animal? And that was what came to me, was wolves, specifically white wolves. So, yeah. So
why do white wolves speak to you, do you think?
That's a really good question. I know they've been in my dreams, and have always spoke to me. There's just kind of with the color white, it just is almost like a spiritual kind of thing. And then the wolves, they mate for life. They have those strong protective instincts. There's just so many things about them that I would like to think are as a part of me, and I just feel a relationship with them that I don't with other animals, except for dogs.
Yeah, I love dogs too. I've always been a huge dog lover, for sure. Each creative has their own way of creating an atmosphere to create. What are things that you like to do?
To create, like, my environment?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I am not a tidy person, but I'm an organized person. It's part of the ADHD for me. You can see the organization in the background there. So, so that's it. that works for me. Having it like that. I love to go to the library and write where it's quiet. I usually write with headphones on and sometimes with earplugs and headphones to block all sound. And let's see, what else? So I find that when I'm doing the actual writing, I need it to be silent or wordless music. But when I'm doing edits, I can play whatever I want, and it's just fine. I don't know why it doesn't affect that, but I'm trying to think what else. Oh, one of my favorite tools for brainstorming and like the actual writing process is called it's an online writer, and it it's through Big Labs is the company, but you can go there and it looks like the old the old computers, with like the style of writing and the way that it's blocked on the page. And you can make it so that it'll play typewriter sounds while you're typing, which to me is amazing because my mom was a writer and she would type at night and I was in the next room, so that was like a soothing sound that I would go to sleep with, and so it's just I just love it so much. So I use that a lot. So
I'm with you. There is absolutely like a sound. I was thinking of the sound as you said that, and it instantly evoked a calm emotion within me.
Right. Isn't that cool how that works?
Yeah.
I know. So yeah, that's a big one that I do. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Well, I have a whole process that I go through before I start writing to put myself in a place where I can listen, because I feel like the stories come from outside of me. I'm just the pen putting them on the page. Yeah. But to put myself in that position, I write 3 pages of morning pages, which is the stream of conscious writing. Yep. And I always do it by hand. I don't do it on the computer because it just tackles a different part of your brain, So I do that. I read some kind of uplifting religious something, even if it doesn't have to be religious, but just something that raises my frequency, So I always do that. Those are my main things that I do before I write, but I spend a good amount of time doing it before I sit down to put my hand to the page. So.
We connect and relate on, I know we've talked about this before, Karen's morning pages.
Oh, yes.
Did you find your voice when you began writing the morning pages? Did that help you be able to really tap into your voice?
Yeah, that's when I started writing. Like before, I always played with stories, but I never really put my heart into it until I discovered morning pages. And then I have ideas that I'm still writing from, and it's 30 years ago, and I still have these ideas that I'm playing with from when I first discovered the morning pages. It's been fantastic. So yeah, once I discovered the artist's way and applying that to my life, I can't even tell you the difference it's made. It's just been amazing, not just with writing, but with life in general, And she even says, that it's a 12-step program to living a creative life. And I wholeheartely agree with that. It can be something as simple as what you're doing in the kitchen to, it just, I don't know, it just organizes my brain in ways that I can't do it by myself. So.
Yeah. It processes thoughts for sure, of like compartmentalizing, like, let's look at this first. Yes. Julia, I love this question. Julia, ask Karen, what are morning pages? Can you
morning pages? About that? Yes, morning pages are amazing. So it's 3 pages, handwritten, of stream of conscious writing. So basically, half the time I will start with, the time and the date. It's Monday morning, whatever time it is now, right? Like 12:20. And this is where I am, and I have no idea what I'm going to write about today, but this is what I have that's going on. And blah, 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 blah. And eventually it will transition either to, well, I'd really like to do this with my story and exploring ideas there, or personal challenges, coming up and getting inspiration on what I can do with that. It gets rid of the clutter in your head and drains it away so that you can find the heart of what you need to be doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you feel, Karen, when you write in your morning pages, do you feel like you're able to really be vulnerable and just put your deepest parts of yourself on there in places that you don't feel comfortable yet to share anywhere else?
I do. And I've been doing this since like 1996, and I have yet to go back and read any of them. I've just collected them because that's not the purpose. They're not there to be read. They're there for purging, and if my son ever decides to read them someday when I'm gone, that's fine. At that point, I don't care. And it's not anything that I'm ashamed of, but there are things that are harder to talk about. And it's just always easier for me to write than it is to talk, just in general. So,
yes.
Yeah.
When I say amethyst, what are a few things that come to mind for you?
Ooh, well, of course, beautiful amethyst stones. I have my friend Constance Silverbow.
Okay.
She, her family had a rock store, and I went in there at one point, and there was this huge amethyst that was like it was concave, and it was the coolest thing. It was like a giant geode, and so I used the idea of that in the book as well, where there's like entire walls of the amethyst where they end up eventually in the search for the amethyst eye. And but that beautiful, the colors, the banding of the purple and the white, and like almost to an eye shape. You'll see them sometimes, like the round ones, and that's where I got that from.
I love amethyst, and I loved reading about that, as it reminded me of, like, they have caves in Peru that are all amethyst.
Oh, wow.
Which would be, to be there would be amazing to get that whole sense of feel.
Yeah, it would. I would love to see that.
You evoked that very well.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, man. Yeah.
Why do you think that people want to believe in magic?
I think that we just come knowing that there's something more than what we have right here. And magic is just such a delightful way to imagine what could be, you don't have to know rules. You don't have to know why. It's just magic, I think, yeah. I mean, that's the best I can tell you. It's a beautiful idea of what's out there. So, and it's something that I think for eons, when people couldn't explain why something happened or what it was, that it just became magic, it was a little miracle. And I think that's just part of our history, and it's in our genes to believe that.
Absolutely agree. What's a treasure that you found and were not expecting to find?
Oh my goodness. I think the treasures have mostly been internal in myself. These characters they're me. They're just different parts of me that have come out. I have the parts of me that I want to hide, like Kayla wants to hide her ears. And I have the parts of me that are willing to stand up to just about anyone to do what I feel is important, and even Satan, even the bad lady, there are parts of her in me, with with doubting things and, just, well, I'm a Scorpio, so so that should just tell you right there. So, yeah. So, I mean, that's just been a gift, learning those things about them, that they're me, and that because of the reactions that people have had, not only is it okay to express myself and be me even on the page, but it's loved. People have come back and said that they love it, and that has been very validating for me. Well, if they can love these fictional characters, maybe they can love me too. So.
Oh, yeah, you are very lovable, Karen. We're in trouble because I love this. Julia says, I'm a Scorpio too.
Oh, yay! Scorpios unite.
We're going to take it to the inner child question segment. Are you ready?
Excellent. I am ready.
Okay. First question. As a kid, at what age did you find out about Santa?
Ooh, I was young.
Oh.
I was young. I remember, I don't know how I found out. It probably from sneaking and looking at presents that came from Santa. But I remember trying not to tell my brother when he was like 6. So I was probably 5 or 6 when I found out. So, yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
But I was such a stinker. I was always sneaking and trying to find presents. So I was pretty good at it.
Now, when you figured it out, was it kind of like, do you remember? Was it like I knew it all along, or were you upset about
No,
finding it out, or like?
It was like, oh man, I wanted to believe. I really wanted to believe. And same thing with the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy. And,
Yes.
I saw my mom sneaking into my room with a sucker when I'd lost a tooth and it was under my pillow instead of a quarter. And like, man, it's all fake.
Yes. Yeah, I remember being very angry. I actually took it the opposite direction where I wanted to believe so much that my parents were the liars. Why would they lie to me about Santa not being real? Because Santa is absolutely real.
Oh, man. Yeah. That's awesome.
Second question. What did you like to collect when you were a teenager?
Books. My mom gave me $100 one year for Christmas, and back in 1985, that was a heck of a lot of money, and I spent every penny of it on books. I was like, I thought you would get some clothes or something. I was like, but I don't care about clothes. I care about books and music. I was never one to put posters on my walls unless they related to books or music. So those were my 2 big things. I never was a card collector. My brother and I had I just drew a blank, like He-Man figures and Star Wars figures and things like that. But we just ended up shooting them up with our BB guns. We didn't keep them. Now I wish that we had them, but that was just never a thing for us. It was for me. It was music. I got a boom box one year, and
and we have Julia. Julia says, found my soul sister. Yes, Julia, you and Karen, I think, would get along really, really well. Karen, so boombox.
Yes. Yes.
Your boombox?
I got my boombox from my stepdad. And yeah, back then, well, I guess people can take their little ones to school now, but at recess time, all we had were the big boom boxes. We didn't have the headphones. So it was kind of funny. So yeah, that's when I discovered, and of course this is the 80s. So that's music, and I remember specific times out on the playground hearing, oh gosh, I can't even remember the name songs. There's one by Kaja Gugu and the Mr. Roboto, and like I remember being on the playground hearing those songs like fourth grade. It was kind of funny. So
What kind of books did you enjoy?
fantasy was, well, you know what? I started with mysteries, and actually I started with Nancy Drew. Yes, I love Nancy Drew books. My niece had a collection that had been given to her by her aunt, and when she lived with us, like I took over her collection. There were like 50 books there in the series, and I read all of them. I absolutely loved them. So started with mysteries, and then in 6th grade, I was introduced to fantasy through A Wrinkle in Time and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Those were my gateway into fantasy books. And after that, I just couldn't get enough. Just couldn't get enough.
Third question. What is the oddest food combo that you've liked and tried, or you've just tried?
Everybody's going to be grossed out by this one. Because my husband, he can't even sit at the table with me when I eat it. But with spinach and broccoli, I like to eat it with Miracle Whip.
Ooh. Okay, so do you blend it?
Scoop of Miracle Whip and then mix it up. Yeah. And I've been doing it since I was a little kid. My mom taught me that, and we didn't put cheese on our broccoli. We put Miracle Whip on. So, but yeah, Gary doesn't even like to sit at the table with me when I'm eating. That's so gross.
It kind of reminds me, though, like a different version of Alfredo, just a little sweeter.
It would. Just a little sweet and tang. Yeah.
I would definitely try that.
It's really good. I love it. So
do you warm it up? So if you have, is this broccoli that's like raw broccoli or cooked broccoli?
No, it has to be cooked. And when you mix the Miracle Whip in with it, it warms it up. So you can heat it up with it, but I'm sorry, I've got a big old frog in my throat today.
What's your frog's name, Karen?
His name is George.
George. Welcome, George.
Yes. Ribbit.
What would you call that dish? Do you have a name for it?
I don't. It's that's just the way I always eat my broccoli and my spinach. So at least the cooked kinds, not necessarily. I don't like raw broccoli. I do like raw spinach, but I can't imagine eating it with Miracle Whip. It would be a little different. So
yeah, I was trying to figure out which consistency I would enjoy better. And for me personally, I think cooked definitely sounds more appealing.
Definitely. I like Miracle Whip, so but I only like it on certain things. If I make a sandwich, I like mayonnaise, unless it's tuna fish or egg salad. Those have to have Miracle Whip.
Yep, I'm totally with you on that one.
Yeah.
Before we end today, can you tell our listeners and viewers what living a creatively abundant life means to you?
Wow, a creatively abundant life. I think for me it means letting the sorry, this is a hard one to answer. Probably just because it's a personal thing, but it's not something I don't want to share. It's just something that I haven't really verbalized before. I believe, I mentioned earlier that I believe that everything that comes to me comes from outside of me, and that can be, whatever you want to call it, or him or her or whatever, that there's something bigger out there that speaks to me. And I feel like when I'm living a creative life, when I'm allowing myself to be creative and to have the creative mentality of things, that it taps me into that greater consciousness, that then I become partners with the creator, in creating things. And I love that whole idea. I suffer from bipolar, and depression and some challenging things with that. That was a lot of what kept me from writing before. And so to have something that lifts me up and helps me feel normal, or, quasi-normal, whatever normal is, but helps me to feel better. I want to do that. And if that's, I don't have the words to say it, but I want to do that. I want that feeling in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be a creator like every day. I just want that in my life.
Thank you so much for being here, Karen. It is always a pleasure chatting with you.
I love chatting with you too. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Where can we find you if you have any new books that are releasing, or if they have questions after the show for you?
Sure. I have a website. It's KarenEHoover.com. And I put all of my new releases and everything up there. And I have an email address to there as well, so that you can contact me. It's in the contact information. I would love to hear from anybody. So thank you again. This has been fantastic. Really good.
You're so welcome. Much love to you, Karen. Keep creating. And thank you for all of those who watch us live and will also watch on the replay. Remember, as you go about the rest of your week, to find the things that are working for you. You are the creator of your own story. What steps are you going to take next? We will see you in 2023. This is the last show of the season. Thank you so much for being here with us. We so appreciate you, and happy holidays. Enjoy creating new memories with your loved ones, and we will see you in 2023. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.